Bill Gertz. He's with us. He's got a great brand new book, War and Peace in the Information Age, iWar. Bill Gertz, how did you know this would all be coming together when your book comes out like this?
Boy, it's an amazing coincidence, isn't it? I tell you, this is the information war that we're seeing play out right before us. A lot of the things that are being released in the Senate hearing yesterday and in the report today are outlined in iWar. And the basic thesis is that warfare in the 21st century is going to be dominated by information warfare. We're at war with our enemies, the top of the list being Russia and China, and Iran and North Korea right behind it, and of course the Islamic State is right in there as well.
And you take you've been doing this a long time. There's nobody who's more informed about these issues than you, and this cyber warfare issue. Why do you think so many people played down Russia's involvement in cyber warfare? Of course they're involved in it in a big way.
It's amazing to me that there seems to be a kind of, I think it's a result of Russian influence operations. They're trying to influence. One of the things in this report that came out, it said, the headline is that question behind that operation.
Now, you made an interesting point just now, worldwide populist movements. People are cheering these populist movements. You know, I believe in constitutional republicanism. These populist movements in these other countries, these nationalist populist movements, they don't believe in America first. They're all about themselves, are they not?
Yeah, they don't understand the idea of rule by law, freedom, democracy, liberty. That's what the United States needs to be promoting in challenging these autocratic and communist regimes around the world. You know, this is one of the key recommendations I make in iWar. We need a new entity that's going to promote liberty and democracy and freedom and counteract lies and disinformation. It's so urgently needed.
What has the Obama administration, we have these reports tell us that the Russians tried to influence the election. In the end, they didn't, but they tried.
Right.
Okay, fine. Well, who the hell's the president of the United States?
He's
the president of the United States. What has he done?
He's done absolutely nothing. He kicked out 35 Russian intelligence officers. When the intelligence showed that they weren't behind it, it was Putin. Why doesn't he go after the billions of dollars that Putin has squirreled away, probably in Swiss banks, that he's taken through corruption, through all these major state-run corporations like Gazprom? Nothing has been done to really punish the Russians for this activity.
We actually have former members of Congress, including Republicans, who work for lobbying firms, who are paid to represent Putin-related state-run banks and other companies in Washington, D.C., are they not?
Yes, yeah, it's unbelievable. I'm hoping that in the Trump administration we'll get some people in there that can recognize that Russia is a major threat to our country. China's right behind it. I mean, the Russian economy, I gave a speech recently in Tokyo on U.S.-Japan relations under the coming Trump administration. And after the speech, a Russian embassy official, obviously an intelligence agent, came up to me and he asked me, will Trump lift sanctions against Russia? From that, I understood this is what the Russians are after. They're hurting for international sanctions that were imposed on Russia for the invasion of Crimea, the continuing destabilization, the nuclear threats, unprecedented nuclear threats he's made, to use nuclear weapons against the West. And Obama has done absolutely nothing to counteract that. He's living in this postmodern, delusional world where he thinks there's no more threats in the world, that we're all working towards global cooperation. Those countries, Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, and the Islamic State, they're not playing by that rule.
You know, the other thing is, it appears to me, Bill Gertz, his outstanding book, War and Peace in the Information Age, iWar, it just came out this week.
Yes.
And it really covers the events that are going on right now. Let me ask you a question, Bill Gertz.
Yeah.
I have taken made the argument that it seems to me the Republican Party is embracing more of the Richard Nixon foreign policy. It's not a perfect parallel. And are abandoning the Ronald Reagan foreign policy. I'm not talking about endless interventionism. I'm talking about, forget about détente. Reagan's view was we have to contain and in many cases defeat our enemies.
Absolutely. There's one way to bring about peace in the information age, and that's basically to result in a situation where your enemies no longer pose a threat to you. In the case of the Islamic State terrorist group, for example, we've been killing terrorist leaders now for over a decade, and guess what happened? The group morphed into from Al-Qaeda into the Islamic State because we haven't attacked their ideology. If there's one thing we learned in the Cold War was we needed to attack the communist ideology. We did nothing until Reagan came in and said it was the evil empire, and he did things to undermine that ideology, and the whole thing collapsed in 91. We need to do the same thing today against both Russia, Putinism, which is a pan-Eurasian fascist nationalist ideology that wants to take over the entire landmass from the Pacific to the Atlantic, the Chinese, who are reformed communists who want to keep Marxism, Leninism, and try to make money out of it, and at the same time undermine democratic freedoms and liberties. We've just got to do more about it. And I think we have a great opportunity. Like I said, this book, iWar, I present an outline, not two concrete proposals, but an outline of things that can be done to try and defeat our enemies on the information front.
This fellow Tillerson, who's been nominated to run the State Department, he's very tight with Putin.
He's done a lot of business over there. Yeah, I know. One thing I found from talking to people in the oil business, they've done a lot of business in Russia. They set up, ExxonMobil did a big deal on Sakhalin Island in the Russian Far East, which has just been coming online in the last few years. I think it's going to be incumbent upon the Congress to really hold the new Trump administration's feet to the fire when it comes to issues like this with Russia. And I'm sure they'll get a good hearing on it. I don't think Trump is going to be as pro-Russian as many of the Democrats and his critics like to say. He's advocated peace through strength, which is the Reagan defense policy. He wants to build up our military.